Hello everyone, the Chef Photographer here, and welcome to the first ever episode of my long exposure. So today I'm going to talk about light trails and how are you going to get it. So when you say long exposure, that is the amount of time that your camera is exposed. So maybe let's say 10 seconds, 5 seconds, or even 20 minutes or even an hour. But in this tutorial, I'm going to talk about the light trails. So that when you say light trails, like this one, as you can see, the camera is capturing all the light that is being produced by the cars, and it is being followed by the camera. And how are you going to get it? Just hang on there, everyone. Okay, now, so let's go to the equipment and how are you able to get it. So the first equipment that you are going to need is, of course, your camera. Any camera that you have. So it's maybe a mirrorless camera, a DSLR camera, or even your phone camera. Okay, but you just have to make sure that the camera that you are using has the manual capability, because that is very important. Second, it's a sturdy tripod or the appropriate tripod for your camera. All you have to make sure is that the tripod has to be sturdy for the camera that you are using. Like this one, I'm using the XT2. This is a Fujifilm XT2, so I can use this. So this one is not really that solid kind of tripod, but it can handle this kind of camera because this camera is actually pretty small. So if you are using a very big hunky full frame DSLR, so that is another story. You will really need a very sturdy, solid, or maybe aluminum or metal tripod. Alternative for tripod, if you don't have any tripod, you can also use a bench, tables. You just have to make sure that the surface is clean, and also you're going to cover it with a soft cloth so that you won't prevent it from scratching. Now let's go to the setting of your camera. I just told you that your camera has to have the capability of manual mode. So set your camera in a manual mode. Focus your lens to infinity. By the way, this is my preferred kind of lens. This is a wide angle lens, 16 f1.4. So this is Fujinon 16 f1.4. This is equivalent to 24mm in full frame. In long exposure, it's really good to have a wide angle lenses. It's not really necessary, but believe me, you would prefer that kind of lenses, a wide angle lenses, when it comes to this one. ISO 100, because you want to have a very clean photo, or you want a very clean output to prevent your photos from grains or any unwanted kind of noise. For the aperture, let's say f9, f16, as long as it's not that wide. Okay, you can set your camera, let's say, from f9, f16, f20. Okay, if you're depending on the environment, because remember, you don't really need a very shallow depth of field when it comes to this kind of photography. Okay, shutter speed, this is the most important because we are dealing with a long exposure. You can set your camera to, let's say, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or 30 seconds, depending on what you want. Time of the day, of course, nighttime, since we are not using an ND filter here, so you have to have a dark environment. Okay, let's go to the placement of the camera. You have to place your camera where the light is not going directly through your lens, because if the light is going directly through your lens, this will happen. As you can see in that picture, it's a little bit blown up. You can also experiment with the different angles, low angles, high angles. You can go up on an overpass. This one is one of my favorite kind of photos that I took back a few months ago. As you can see, I positioned the camera in a high place where I got a lot of light trails in this one. And one of the most important tip that I can give to you is that be safe. Always be safe. You can go with your friends. Don't go alone, especially on the nighttime. You are carrying your most beloved, expensive gears, so you don't want other bad people to steal it from you. Okay, so that's why you have to be careful. Always be safe. So I hope you learned something from this photography tutorial, and I hope to see you again soon. Watch out for another photography tutorials of long exposure episodes. That's all for now, and see you again. Bye bye.